Okay, guys. So I thought I'd post a Saturday vid, kind of updating the camper build. Sorry, it's been a minute. I know I said I was going to post one every week, but honestly, we've been so busy with ICF and pools that I have fallen a little bit behind on editing. But back to it. Today's video is going to be all about the carpentry and cabinets and sides, the building process of all of that. I was actually super stoked about this part of the process because this is kind of what we've done over the last 20 years of our career. We build a lot of high-end homes with a lot of fancy cabinetry and doors and just crazy stuff. So this is, we had the shop to do it. We had the equipment and the know-how. So I was very accustomed. But this video series is really about building this particular set of plans from Wonder Tiers. And it was pretty easy, honestly. I will tell you, this was my first place where I had a few complaints about the cabinet design, but very, very minor complaints. But this thing I'm doing here is a really tricked out way of making the teardrop shape, because it's not a perfect ellipse or radius. So there's no real math that will give you this fancy curve. But what he does in the plans is lays out a 4-inch by 4-inch grid. If you'll be able to see it in parts of this clip better, but we have drawn that out on the 4x8 sheet. And then basically he gives you a coordinate off of, each side, and you basically put trim nails in there, and then you just bend a straight edge around it and trace it. Works super awesome. Very easy, and gives you just that perfect shape. You can see Keith over here doing the top, which is not nearly as difficult. Didn't you have to bend it as hard? We just bend the part we're marking in, so you can see it's not all the way to the nails in every section. Once that's done, you can kind of see the grid there. You just take a jigsaw and cut it out. Very, very easy process. I thought it was just a really brilliant way of laying it out. Makes it easy for anybody. You don't need any special compasses or tools or anything to lay it out. So I thought that was great. So you cut out, these are the outsides, and then you cut out another coordinate, and it is for the insides, and it's like 1.5 inches smaller for most of it, and then it goes to the exact same size. And what that's for is your insides, the cabin part of it, not the cabinets in the galley, but the cabinet portion has a roof. And so you have basically purlins. And so you'll see it in the next video, more elaborate, but it'll make sense when you see him putting it together. It is about a 10-foot long trailer, so you got an extra 2 feet here that you have to lay out, and you can see him, he's just following the grid. I'm reading measurements to him off of the iPad, and very simple process, a little tedious, but very accurate. So I'll take tedious and accurate every time, and works out really, really nice. So he's going to get this done. We're going to mark this out, and once it's all cut, all 4 pieces, because you got 2 outside pieces, 2 inside pieces, and the plans call for all 1/2 inch. It does give you an option to cut some cutaways out of the outside and use 1/2 inch foam for a little bit of insulation. I did not see enough value in it to do it. So we get everything cut out. Here you see Keith is, we slather glue on. That's the bottom from the last video. I guess we were doing all this at the same time. This made these videos a little hard because I'm trying to do it in a series, but we were doing multiple steps at the same time. But yeah, we just nailed this on after gluing it, and then set all that aside. You can see all of them leaning up against the garage door, and we start building the cabinets. The cabinets, like I said, they were very straightforward. It's basically 4 separate boxes of cabinets that kind of stair-step together. The 3 in the back stair-step together to make a galley and an upper on the inside of the cabin. And then there's a headboard that's really just a kind of a 2-dimensional, piece that the roof finishes out. But gives you a little bit extra storage space, really nice. But this is where the one complaint with the plans, because like I said, these plans are A+. They're very, very, very good. But as a guy who builds a lot of cabinets and is used to looking at a lot of cabinet plans, everything else, these are like 3D renderings of the cabinets, and the dimensions are not I would have preferred a single page exploded view with too much information. Instead, I had to constantly scroll back and forth between about 3 to 4 pages, and they weren't sequential. So I'd have to scroll through 10 pages to get to the 3 pages with the dimensions that I needed. And no, not like I said, guys. That is not a complaint that should really drop the score of these plans. They're great. This is kind of fun. If you noticed at the beginning of this video, I had my old high output cold weather ballast lights that were 20 years old that were all kind of getting bad, and I did install my Hexglows. And man, what an upgrade to the shop, guys. You know, I have those in my show shop at my house and this shop now, and it just provides such amazingly good light and such great modern look. And Hexglow has always been super cool. It's hexglow.com. And if you type in the promo code GURU10, they give you 10% off, which is kind of nice of them. And I've had them in multiple shops for multiple years and have not had a single problem. It seems like a very, very high quality product to boot. So, okay, guys, gonna do a quick walk around. Got the cabinets finally pretty much wrapped up yesterday. Still got to build the doors. I obviously elected to do a little bit of an audible on the plans where they call for birch in here. With birch, you can get away with cutting out like kind of like porthole like style doors, then just finishing the edge, because the edge of most plywood is kind of colored like birch, so you can just router it, sand it down, and lacquer it, which is probably the simplest way, especially if you don't have a lot of cabinet tools as far as building face frames. It's also pretty strong as a bulkhead. But I love walnut, and I just really wanted a walnut interior to this this camper. And I have a cabinet shop, so I built face frames and did it that way. So I'm going to have actual doors that are going to push button lock. I am going to put a little block on each one, so as it's bouncing down the road, it's not putting any stress at all on the hinges. I'll show you guys that before the end of this video. But this is my first complaint with Wanderteer's plans, and it's a small complaint, and it's just probably more of a personal preference, but the cabinet plans are very detailed, and all the information you could need is there. But what I would say from a builder's perspective, there's no single page that's got everything on it. You're constantly flipping back and forth through, 8 or 10 pages of data. I would have liked, there is this one picture of this whole cabinet blown out with no measurements on it. It'd have been nice to know everything, because I didn't need all those cut list pages and stuff. I would have been able to custom build these cabinets exactly how I wanted them faster, but I was constantly flipping back and forth between the pages. Now, I mean, for a lot of you guys, that's actually, you're going to appreciate all that. I was really confident that this would actually be one of my fortes. The welding up of the frame and stuff is not something I do every single day. So I thought in my own mind, this would be the fastest phase. To give you guys some perspective, the walnut I bought is over $100 a sheet. I actually had some left from previous jobs, so I didn't really have much of anything in this material. However, the walnut, I would have had in all this material about $450 in the material had I bought it, retail. I ended up spending about 11 hours building this part. I didn't think it would take me half that. And I think part of that was the plans, and part of that was just that it's pretty intricate getting all these cabinets to come together exactly, and they're super top heavy, so they're not real easy to handle when they're all screwed together. And kind of took an extra person to help me get it assembled efficiently. Further, you can see I did go ahead and purchase the doors. That is, I think, the single most expensive piece of hardware is this pair of doors. Is almost $1,000 on the Vintage website. The website is very mediocre. The service is fantastic. The guy is awesome. But his website's basically like, this is what I have, now call me to order it, which is very 1999. However, it's efficient. I mean, I called him, super helpful guy. One thing you'll notice is I did a 3/4 inch interior plywood, and I did not insulate the walls. I just didn't think there was enough value in doing a cutaway and getting a 1/2 inch of foam. But I didn't insulate the walls, but I was concerned that this is now 1 1/4 inch thick, and the plans call for inch thick. And he immediately, I told him what I had done as an audible, and he's like, no, that's no big deal. He was able to put worries at ease just on the fly, says a lot of people choose to do that, yada, yada. So I was like, great, that feels nice to know that everything is, I'm not making a mistake by doing that. And he's also the guy that I'll be purchasing most of the trim metal and everything else from. He's got all the very bespoke goodies that go on these teardrop campers. So anyway, guys, just kind of give you a quick walk around on this, on the cabinet build. It really wasn't hard at all. Like I said, I wish the plans had just had a single page with everything on it. I get that a lot of you guys will say, well, I mean, the info is great. It's all there. I got really tired of scrolling back and forth on my iPad looking for different things. It was one place where I said, I don't need the directions, and started going my own path, and then probably wished I had just started on page 1 and gone through. But worked out great. It's going to look awesome. I'll go ahead and get into the rest of the build right now. The one thing I am waiting on is I bought a 5-foot by 10-foot piece of plywood, 1/4 inch to go. 1/8 inch is really not attainable. I don't know why they call for that, but it's 1/4 inch. And I'm going to bow that around there and have no seams on the ceiling, and that's about 2 weeks out. So I have a couple weeks to decide air conditioning or vent fan. I'm leaning towards the vent fan. I cannot see doing a ton of super hot weather camping, not to mention my wife. Our biggest point of contention in our life is the thermostat, and she's quite comfortable at 80, and I think that is, insane. So overly hot is not going to be a bother to her, and it's not going to be something that we do a lot of. And it's a big, big difference in price and just weight and battery consumption and everything. So I think I'm going vent fan, but I got a couple weeks to finalize. But anyway, going to get into the rest of the build and the lacquering and everything. Can't wait to get my sides on, but got to get my wiring done, obviously. Then I can put the doors on, and it's going to really start looking like something here in the next week or two.